It's kind of crazy to think about, but you are just one decision away from changing your entire life. Seriously. But so often, we just don't make that decision, do we? Instead, we find all these reasons why we can't. So, in this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the logic that just completely dismantles those common excuses so you can stop blaming and, well, start building. All right, let's get into it. And this, right here, is the heart of the problem. See, when we blame something else, we're literally just giving our power away. We basically make ourselves passengers in our own lives, just sitting there waiting for the traffic to clear up or for the sun to come out. But what if the problem isn't the traffic at all? What if it's our own internal map that's leading us astray? So where does all this blame come from? Well, the foundation for it comes from some really fascinating work by Dr. Albert Ellis, who actually founded cognitive behavioral therapy. He figured out that pretty much all our frustrations boil down to just 3 core irrational beliefs. We're going to call them our reality distortions. Okay, so these 3 beliefs, they are the bedrock for almost every excuse we cook up. First, we blame our circumstances, right? The world has to give me what I want. Then we blame other people. They must treat me the way I think they should. And finally, we turn that blame inward, but with these impossible standards. I have to be perfect or I'm a total failure. These are the very distortions that keep us feeling powerless. So how do these distortions actually pop up in our everyday excuses? Well, a great way to think about it is like an onion. Our excuses are layered, and to get to the real truth at the center, you've got to be willing to peel them back one by one. We almost always start on that easy outer layer, with the stuff that's easiest to point to. I just don't have the time, or I don't have the money. If we get pushed past that, okay, then we might start blaming other people. But the real game changer, the real breakthrough, only happens when we peel back that last layer and look right at the core, our own fears and our own responsibility. All right, let's do it. Let's start peeling that first layer. We are going after the biggest, baddest, most common excuse in the book. I just don't have the time. So this no time excuse usually comes in 2 flavors. You've got the macro version, which is all about your current season of life. Oh man, things are just crazy right now. But here's the logical flaw. When are they not going to be crazy? Learning how to fit your goals in when you're busy is literally the only way to make them stick. And then there's the micro excuse, the day-to-day. I can't find a spare hour. But listen, it's never about adding more. It's about what you remove. A quick peek at your phone's screen time report will probably show you all the spare hours you could ever need. And this kind of thinking leads us straight into this huge logical trap that gets so many of us. It's called the when-then fallacy. It's this belief that you have to wait for everything to be perfect before you can actually do anything. When I have more time, then I'll start that business. Or my favorite, when I get in shape, then I'll go to the gym. I mean, when you put it like that, you can see just how totally backward that logic is, right? You don't get healthy before you go to the hospital. You go to the hospital to get healthy. The action is what creates the result, not the other way around. This one fallacy is the reason so many brilliant ideas just die on the vine, waiting for a perfect moment that just never shows up. Okay, so we've peeled back the time layer. Now let's get to the next big one, the other huge circumstance excuse, money. This one can feel like a solid brick wall, but honestly, it's often just another distortion. Here's a thought that's a little counterintuitive. What if a high price isn't a barrier, but actually a filter? Think about it. When we invest a lot of money in something, we are psychologically anchored to it. We have skin in the game. So we show up, we do the work. The cost itself actually creates the commitment. So that thing we see as the reason not to do something could be the very reason we'd absolutely crush it if we did. But okay, what if you genuinely just don't have the money? Let's look at one of the greatest stories about this from Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. He tells it in his book, Shoe Dog. Nike was in what looked like an impossible spot. Nike was growing so fast, it was about to go completely broke. He had maxed out every bank, every credit line. He had 0 resources left. For real, the company was right on the edge of failure. So what do you do then? What do you do when the wall is real and there's literally no money anywhere? Well, what Knight did next is what makes this story so incredibly powerful. He didn't ask, where can I get more resources? He completely changed the question. He asked, how can I be more resourceful? He went to his suppliers, the very people he owed money to, and somehow convinced them to pay his employees' salaries. His argument was, look, if Nike goes under, you'll never get paid anyway. It was an absolutely brilliant, resourceful move.
And this right here is the whole point. The success story of pretty much every self-made person proves this. It's not about what you have in your bank account when you start. It's about what you have between your ears.
This brings us to what might be the single most empowering idea in this entire explainer. It's all about shifting your focus from what you don't have to what you can do with what you do have. Let's just break this down. Resources, that's stuff. It's finite, it's external, money, tools, connections. But resourcefulness, that's infinite and it's completely internal. It's creativity, it's hustle, it's guts. Resources become the excuse for why we can't do something. Resourcefulness is the engine that never, ever runs out of fuel. Anyone can find an excuse in not having resources, but a resourceful person, they will always, always find a way. And that brings us all the way back to the beginning. If your excuse is, I can't afford this, well, that's exactly why you need to learn a skill that brings in more money. If your excuse is, I don't have the time, that's precisely why you need a new system to get your time back. Your biggest excuse isn't a wall. It's a giant, flashing signpost pointing you directly at what you need to work on most. So that chain you feel holding you back, turns out you're the one holding the key. And the second you break it, all that power you gave away comes flooding right back to you. So the only question left is, which excuse, which distortion, which chain are you finally going to decide to break?